This demo is going to cover two sprints that happened this summer of 2023 focused on shoreline. There were sprints. There was one, a local UCSD sprint focused on the pipeline, so getting objects into Comet and then published to shoreline. And the other was a surfliner, sort of off-cycle, both on shoreline and Comet, fine-tuning some of those pieces that still remained on that pipeline. So in both of those sprints, we were able to merge the M3s that supported geospatial objects, get those in, get those aligned. We were able to then handle both M3 and non-M3, publishing that information from Comet to Shoreline, which includes concatenation of certain elements or other sort of translation of things. So that was handled. We were also able to ingest multiple files locally into bulk racks. So part of the work that was done previously was ingesting files, but from within inside the sort of GitLab repo. And now we've linked up both of those for local campuses, so we can place files on a local server and then and have those ingested via bulk racks. Also able to provide original files to Shoreline. So with that is including the minting of ARCs to be able to use and have those IDs or ARC IDs populated. We also set up a single mediated workflow, which means a user can ingest into Comet, review these objects before publishing out to a Shoreline or to another platform. And then we resolved some issues around bounding box, sort of display issues, and working on some collections. But what I'll show you here is the process really of what happened between these two sprints of being able to ingest data from a local machine into Comet, reviewing those, and then publishing those out to Shoreline and Geodata. So Geodata is our public facing name. So what I have right here is Comet, and I'll also show you sort of our Geo Blacklight instance, Shoreline Geodata. We can see currently that there are no items in here. So I'm going to go back to Comet, and I'm going to go to my dashboard, and I see that there are currently 0 objects in this. So this is a fresh sort of Comet instance to be able to ingest and go through. So what I'm going to first do is create a project or a collection so that I can assign objects that I'm going to ingest into that to be able to assign it to a workflow. So first I'm going to go over to collections, and I'm going to create a new collection for the purposes of this demo. I'm going to create it as a project, so it's assigned with the workflow and the object lifecycle. Create a project, and I'm going to call this Shoreline Demo 1, and it's a project for Shoreline Demo. I'm going to go ahead and create this. And now one of the things that we accomplished was this ability to be able to assign a workflow. So I have this project, and the default was publishing objects automatically to Shoreline. Now I'm able to ingest those by selecting the Shoreline one-step mediated workflow, ingest those into Comet, review them in Comet, and then when someone else determines they're ready, be able to publish those to Shoreline. So that ability to review in Comet is now set up for us. So apply and save those changes. And now I am ready to start bringing in. So if I take a look back at my collections, I can see that I have this Shoreline demo that I just created, and that's where I'm going to add the objects. So rather than adding objects individually, I'm going to use the importers or the bulk racks import feature. So when I go to importers, I have no importers for a brand new instance. I'm going to create one as the name. So Shoreline Demo 1. I can give it a different name if I wanted to. This is where I'm identifying the project that I'm associating with it. Yes, we see an existing Shoreline project in there, but for right now, Shoreline Demo 1 is what we're working with. So any objects I bring in will go there. Frequency, that's fine. The parser, I'm going to select a CSV. I'm not using the write statements because I have that in my CSV. And now I'm going to identify where that CSV is and upload that. So I've got one here. And as I bring this in, I'm going to select the option to create and validate first. So bringing that in, and what that's doing is that's recognizing that it's being brought in. Everything sort of aligns with the checks that are there. That's more to be worked on or discussed by others. Going to continue that and bring that in. So this process takes a little bit of time. It's fairly fast, but we might see as I refresh that I now have 4 entries that have been processed. And I know that because my CSV that I'm working with has 4 objects in there. And so all of this in the CSV is really what we've set up to be able to leverage and identify where those objects are going and what to do with them. So if I come back in, I can take a look at my objects now. And I see that I have 4 objects in Comet. And if I take a look at one of these, let's take a look at the March 2018 recycled water mains. So this is where we said we implemented the 1-step review process. So I can go through, I can see all of the metadata fields that are aligned with the M3, the description. All of this is information that was pulled from my CSV that we are providing and sort of populating Comet, and then Comet will take this and publish this to Shoreline. So a few things. Right now I can download the file, and sort of as a check, this is the file that I'm expecting it to provide as that original file. So when I'm ready to go through, I've reviewed all of the data, I can go ahead and I can approve. And once I do this, I submit this, and that submission process will take it and it pushes it on, and it goes through all of the processes that it knows what it needs to do to be able to publish into geodata, Shoreline. And so this takes just a little bit because there's some stuff happening in the background. What we have is we have a derivative file that's being published to a different infrastructure that Shoreline needs. We also are pulling back some information after that object is published and pushed to be able to populate additional fields that are required in order to go into geodata. So there's still some work that's happening. So let's take us back to the home page, and we can see now that we have some metadata in here that we didn't have previously. And if I take a look, right, I'm able to see, and we've only ingested one, right? I've only approved one. I now have sort of this recycled water mains for March of 2018. I can see, right, that I have my bounding box displayed on the map on the right as I hover over. And as I click on that object, what I get is the data that object is contained. And I also see all of the metadata down below. So a description that gives me a bit of information about that, who the creator was, what sort of subjects, the date, the temporal coverage, and all of this. And the other thing that we can do with geodata is be able to interact with the data. So as I click on a feature within the map, the attributes of that data set are displayed. So I can interact and I can see, does it contain the information that I need it to before I go ahead and access it. So then what we've really implemented is this ability to download the original shapefile. And so as I download this shapefile, again, it appears, and it is the same shapefile that I was expecting it to appear. So it opens up, and I've got all of the files that I was expecting within that shapefile. So that's really what we were able to do in this work cycle, is get objects into Comet and get them published to Shoreline, right? So if I go back, let me just publish these other remaining ones. At this point, we need to go through and approve them manually. At some point, that will be a feature update. And I can see, as I see on my right-hand side, those that are published and those that are unpublished. Let's publish these 4 real quick. Back to my objects, and I've got 1 remaining. View, approve, submit. and they're off, and there they go. So all 4 of my objects have been published. And if I go back to my geodata instance, I now see that I have those 4 objects in here. And more or less, we're dealing with the same extent at this point. So that's why we're sort of seeing the same bounding box. But I can view all of those. And if I took a look at sort of the different subjects, I can see that those keywords that were being provided are added as facets. So all of this is working. So super excited to have this. There's still some other work that we need to do on sort of handling collections in there, and primarily understanding collections and being able to pass that over to geodata. Some of that is due to some upstream changes in geo blacklight and how collections are handled. And there's some other smaller things or additional data features, but the pipeline is working, and that is what the focus of the summer sprints were. So reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.